BYD just made the BYD Dolphin objectively worse, but subjectively better. So there's an old Chinese idiom which is, take a step back, the sea is wide and the sky is limitless. So BYD's willingness to scale back on features to make cars cheaper, to achieve a broader reach, and to be able to sell more cars to more people showcases their understanding that flexibility and a little bit of compromise can lead to greater opportunities in the long run. The BYD founder once made reference to this idiom a couple of years ago in an interview. Hello folks, I'm Ben Alexander. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm feeling a lot better now, and it was a rough month last month. Thank you for the nice comments as well in the last video. Really nice of you, thank you. The BYD Dolphin is now about half the price in Australia than it is in Europe, which is quite astonishing, really. Starting in Australia, they've basically trimmed some of the fat off of the Dolphin so that they can cut a lot of the price off of it. Therefore, the price is cheaper, way cheaper, $7,000 now. It was literally just slashed from the BYD Dolphin in Australia. It's a bit surreal to see that they actually did it, and that you go on the website and it actually is now $29,000. It's crazy, really. I didn't expect it, but they've done it. They're going to be doing this in Europe as well this year, which is going to help, I think, sell more cars to offset the damage from the tariffs in Europe. Also, at the end of this year, the plant in Hungary is going to be producing BYD vehicles from the end of 2025, so because they're in the middle of building it right now. So if you remember, the Dolphin was originally under 30,000 euros. Post tariffs, it's now 33 to 36,000 euros, depending on where in Europe you pick to buy it. The Australian price now, though, is the equivalent of almost exactly 18,000 euro walk out the door, which I think for a brand new BYD is madness. 18,000 euro, that's amazing. And the BYD Dolphin started at 37,000 in Australia, and then they've just taken off $7,000. Now it's 29,900 something. That's almost 20% cheaper overnight. When they did that, they just slashed 20% off of it. That's amazing. And you don't lose very much stuff from it. So what they've actually done is what I wish they would have done in the first place. Because it's a BYD Dolphin. If you look at it, it's not clearly a really fancy car. It's just a little car to get around in, really. And so there are features on that sort of car that I think were a bit unnecessary, and I would much rather have this deal than the previous deal. It's just my opinion. So there are features that they've taken off that I think a lot of people will not want, or probably just never really wanted, really, but got anyway in the cheapest model. You couldn't opt out of them. So things they've taken off of the Dolphin are folding exterior mirrors, panoramic sunroof, rain sensing wipers, wireless phone chargers, heated front seats, rear privacy glass, the BYD digital card, and the BYD Bluetooth key. Most of these I would happily go without and just keep $7,000, honestly. It would feel much nicer to think that I'm driving around in a car that's $7,000 cheaper. It would just feel nicer to me, I think. And maybe I'd want heated seats, I think, if I was in Northern Europe and I was driving around. I think in that context, you'd probably want heated seats. But if you're in Brisbane, in Queensland, you definitely don't want heated seats. That's completely a waste of money and a waste of weight, basically. So the entry version of the Dolphin was called the Dynamic, but it's now called, rather aptly, the Essential. I can't tell you how much of a fan I am of this. I think as a way to move forward, I think it's a good way to move forward. You still get all of the things on it that I've put on the screen now for you. It's still a fantastic car, feels basically the same, just as modern, minus a few of those bells and whistles that perhaps are a bit unnecessary, such as the electric wing mirrors, you know. Is that really something you'd want to pay for? Would you opt into that if you were to buy the car? Most people wouldn't. The power output for the Essential is only 70 kilowatts, so that's about 94, 95 horsepower. That's perfectly fine for me, 100% happy with that. But I do think a lot of people these days are used to more, and they probably want more than that. But you have to remember it's also electric, so it will come with a lot more torque. So up hills and that sort of stuff, it won't slow down a lot. It will feel all right, but it just won't be fast. So it's cheap, remember that. That's the point. So if you're a teacher driving to school, or you're going to the shop to buy some milk or bread, you don't need 150 kilowatts. You don't need that. And if you do, you must be a bit unstable. You're basically getting the same car with the least interesting features removed, which in turn make it 20% cheaper and therefore more attainable. This is a win. I think we're all winning, basically. I ran a poll and people basically aren't very interested in these features that were taken off anyway. So that kind of validates what I'm saying, I think. It's cheap and electric, and a BYD with the good battery chemistry, the LFP batteries from BYD. So everybody's winning, I think. Should they do that with the more expensive version? Yes, I think they should. I think they should prioritize battery size, take out some, unnecessary features and just add them as an option so you can opt into them, like, I don't know, it's $1,200 for the wing mirrors that go out like this. If you want to, you can have them. But I don't think most people would tick that. Even though I think manufacturers tend not to like options in that sense because it makes it hard to cookie cut their products, which means that each car is effectively closer to a custom vehicle rather than a blanket product where the efficiency has been highly tuned in to make the product so they can make more money effectively. The massive rise in the cost to buy a brand new vehicle is definitely something to be aware of. T&E has recently revealed that Europe's top 5 car makers have raised the prices of their most affordable models, the cheapest cars they make, by 41% on average since 2019. This, as well as the fact that the cost of living has gone up, housing and things like that, and rent and owning a home, stuff like that, significantly in the same period, means that people will be looking for, looking to buy a new car that, statistically these people are likely to want to cut back on the car purchase because that's the least priority out of home and food. This is a very debated topic. I'm sure it's a bit debated, a bit loaded. I won't talk too much about it. You can talk about it in the comments if you'd like. Should people be buying a new car when the cost of living is so high these days? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Regardless, I don't want to talk about that in this video. People still want a new car. They probably always will. It's deeply rooted in our culture to want a nice car. The average price of a new car in Europe stands at, take a minute to think about this for a second, maybe just pause it, put it in the comments. €50,000, which I think is insane. And for me, this is why I love cars like the Dacia Spring, the Nami box, the BYD Seagull, BYD Dolphin. Really basic stripped back cars made for the people, in my opinion. BYD stripped back Dolphin is exactly what is needed. And it's cheap, it's reliable, it's electric, it's BYD. So finally, I think this year, EVs are moving beyond, for the first time, in my opinion, tell me if you agree or not, status symbols to become practical everyday cars for teachers, nurses, police officers, and for other people basically who are the backbone of society. You can probably now buy one this year wherever you are, in France or Holland or Germany. You can probably go out and get one and not spend a small fortune buying one. So at the minute, electric cars, I think, still are strongly connected with expensiveness and status still, but I think in 2 or 3 years time that's going to change a little bit. I think that's the best thing about the next few years for me. This year and next year, for example, you'll be able to purchase in Europe cars such as the BYD Seagull. You can already go and get a Dongfeng Nami box, for example. Proper little cars, decent, well-made little cars with a proper range and LFP chemistry. And it's not necessarily the cars themselves that makes me kind of look forward to it, but it's the fact that ordinary people can go out and buy an electric car without going broke to do so. So if you look, for example, at the cost in Australia to go out and buy the stripped back version of the Dolphin, just hypothetically, if you were to pay for it over 3 years and you would pay, say, $1,000 a month, that was reduced to just over $800 a month now, simply because they did this thing where they took some premium features off and you can still go buy it. That is a couple $100, but it makes a difference to someone who's working paycheck to paycheck, or who's got lots of bills to pay basically every month, because not everybody has a house that's paid off or something like that. So the Atto 3 has also had some elements of strip back as well. They've lost the panoramic sunroof, the power tailgate, roof rails, heated front seats, music rhythm function for the ambient lighting, wireless phone charging has gone as well. And it's now called the Essential, so the Atto 3 Essential, and that also replaces as well, before I forget, the 15.6-inch infotainment screen. That's now being changed for a 12.8-inch screen, and they don't have 8 speakers, they have 6 speakers. I think we could all agree they could have just done that in the first place and saved us some money. If they want to sell cars, why don't they do that? So it baffles me, But yeah, I think there's something to be said for stripping back some of these features, because a lot of people are saying that cars these days are too loaded with gadgets. Toyota are doing the same too as well, even with their cheap and cheerful models, which is making them very expensive. Big businesses making things affordable and making profits generally don't go hand in hand, in my opinion. So this is a nice way to start the year, I suppose. Let me know what you think in the comments. And for me, this was like a really exciting video. I'm totally chuffed with it. I think it's great. So let me know what you think.